But for the most part, the game is all about selecting the right tool for the job, and this is another part where I think the shop mechanic does the game no favors. Unless you're grinding up money to always upgrade your full equipment every time, it's kind of hard to know what gun to use in what situation, because probably you don't have that gun. Probably you haven't bought it. Before you go into level 2, you get a heart jar, which you see I have on my screen down there by my hearts. Now when I die, which I probably will against this boss, it'll fill up my hearts, because I've only got 4 hearts. Basically, it works like a fairy in Zelda. When you die, you get X amount of hearts. It's on the house. And I just don't know a better way to fight this boss than to just tank a lot of his hits, because there's just so much to pay attention to in this fight. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was expecting. I almost got him, though. I almost got him. He was down to his magic pixel. I do think the way that some of the bosses can just fill the screen with terrible stuff, it can kind of get a little overwhelming before you actually learn the game. But now I've got a jetpack, so everything's fine. So this boss, you can send these bubbles down in the water, and eventually he'll run into them, but they do so little damage that dodging the attacks, you're still likely to lose the fight if you do that. The other option is to grind up money and buy a gun that is so powerful that you kill the boss really quickly. Basically, any of the level 3 guns would have that effect, but I've only got level 2 guns at the moment. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the story. I've been kind of glazing over the cutscenes. But the idea is we work for a company called Cat and Frog Inc. And my job is to go out into the world and fight black cloud monsters. More or less. Very kind of abstract and kind of vague plotline. So the jetpack. The jetpack is another part of the game that has a very steep learning curve. It works like a double jump, but there's actually 2 double jumps, and they have different purposes, and I will show them off here in a second. So the first one I've got is this one here, the straight up double jump. That gets a lot of height, and you can get some forward momentum. If you jump forward like this and do a neutral jump in the air, you can get the height and a little bit of distance. If you're holding forward, you get this jump. Oh, I jumped into a tumbleweed. Gersh darn it. That's fine though. This is a little optional boss, but I want to fight him because, you know, the moolah that he gives is helpful. So there is a learning curve to this double jump. It works kind of like a, it's not quite like a Ghost and Goblins double jump because you still do have a little bit of air control, but knowing when to use this little bit of extra height from the neutral double jump is an important skill, and it takes some getting used to. I know I've seen conversations on the Steam forums for this game when I was looking up possible solutions to my controller issue, which I never found and had to refund the game, as I said. Yeah, I saw that a lot of people who are more used to like a standard game where you have 2 identical double jumps, like your second jump is just your first jump again, have trouble acclimating to Kero Blaster's double jump because it's a little different from what they're used to. That's a fine line to walk in platformers. Having a game where mastery of the system is rewarding and feels good rather than just feels cheap. Like for an example of a game, a platformer game where I feel that mastery is rewarded, would be Bionic Commando and its swingy grapple arm. It's unlike anything else you'll ever play, but can I get up here, please? Get over this guy's laser. There we go. And it's a big difficulty curve in Bionic Commando. Once you learn how that arm works, it feels so good and it's so rewarding because there's nothing else quite like it. But an example of a game that does this badly I would say is like the original Castlevania games, especially Castlevania 1 and 3, because the controls in those games are just lousy. You've got no air control, you've got this slow, deliberate attack. The game just feels clunky and janky, and it rewards memorization. And once you get to that level of... Whoops, I didn't want to break this. Once you get to that level of mastery, all you can really do is make Simon Belmont do the things that other platformer characters do naturally. Like, it's just... When you're really good at Castlevania, it's like, okay, but it just feels like a platformer game, and I'm just jumping around and whipping things. It's not that Bionic Commando level of, wow, I can do cool things that no other game allows. So on that spectrum, where, like, Castlevania is a 0 and Bionic Commando is a 10, Kero Blaster is like a 7, I would say. Because, yeah, the moveset does involve some mastery. But it's not stupidly difficult to master. 1 or 2 playthroughs and you'll be good enough at Kero Blaster to kind of take the whole game as it comes. But once you do get to that level of mastery, you'll notice that little Kero man does move in ways that other platformer characters don't. He is a fun character to control. I just jumped right into that bomb. And it does feel good when you make him do the things that this game was built to allow him to do. It is a good feeling. But yeah, about a 7 on that scale, I would say. If you don't like the old school style platformers, I would definitely stay away from Kero Blaster in general. I don't think I've got enough money to... Oh yeah, I do have enough money. This is where I buy the quad shot. Yeah, buddy. I don't think I've got enough for another heart, but I'll spend 1 coin and just buy this heart. Get a refill here. Ah, quad shot. It's like the Contra spread beam. One quality this game has, because it starts you out with that just little useless pea shooter. When your first time you're playing the game, every time you get a gun upgrade, it feels so powerful. It feels like, holy crap, how is this not the last gun I'm ever going to need? Because you start out with that stupid little pea shooter, and then you spend 10 gold, and you get the repeater. And now you've got this full screen, super rapid fire stream of shots. And you're like, man, how is this not the best gun in the game? But then you get the little fan shot, the first level of the green shot. And you're like, oh, I see. Because like, now I can, like, my gun has a tiny spread on it, so it can hit things kind of above and below me a little bit. And then you get the upgraded fan. I better get this coin. Oh, nope, we're not getting it. I don't think it's... I think it's going to be gone by the time I get over there now. Oh, well. That's 10 gold we'll never get. But then you get the upgraded fan shot. You're like, oh, it's got a much bigger spread and I can fire it faster now. Then you get this quad shot. But every single gun, no matter how powerful it feels up front, does have a weakness. The weakness of the quad shot is that, yeah, it's kind of long range, but you see the spread of it out at the end of its fan leaves a lot of gaps. There's a lot of space for enemies and shots and things to sneak through if you're relying on that quad. And one of the benefits to it, outside of its spread, that might not be immediately apparent, is that if you're right up point blank, if you're very close to an enemy, then you can hit it with all 4 of those quads and do a lot more damage. So even in the... Can I hit this guy while standing on him? You know what? We'll just bubble him. Why be stupid about it? So yeah, even in the various weapons, there's still a learning curve. There's still a lot to check out. This quad shot, it looks and feels really good, but as you play the game, you learn it does have strengths and weaknesses. Your range and position still matters. It's not like Contra, where you just spam the spread shot endlessly and nothing ever hits you. Fortunately, unlike Contra, you don't have to mash the button to get the quad. You can mash it to get a much faster quad if you want it. You don't have to. We're going to hit this button and then run under this tire and let the tire do all the work on the screen. I'm still going to fire just because I like the chaos that ensues here, but basically free money as my tire friend bowls over everything. Beautiful. Like the boss I'm about to fight over here. Man, you like how I jumped right into those spikes? Beautiful, right? The boss I'm about to fight over here, I'm going to use a little strategy where I basically get right up in his grill, tank the hit, and feed him all of the quad shots. Every time I mash the button, he's taking 4 hits, basically. And we just stack the damage on him. No problem. And we'll just make sure that his sky missiles don't hurt us. He's gone. And we'll take our last gun, the fire. It's just called fire. That's all it's called. Fire. There it is. Works as a flamethrower. We might upgrade the fire at some point. I don't know. It's not one of the weapons that I need to upgrade, but if I get to the final shop in the game and I just have some cash, we might as well. But fire's pretty good for everything it needs to do. It's already pretty good. And I've seen runs of this game, people do like no upgrade runs. And fire is their weapon of choice because of how quickly it chains damage, basically. But it takes a lot of skill to use it like that. And I'm not a very skilled player. So, we'll be using fire quite a bit, especially in the next level, but it's not my weapon of choice. Oh no, the shadow monsters got us. And we wake up in Tonikawa Hospital. If you get a game over, you wake up in the hospital, and they send you back to the last level, the beginning of the level that you were working on. And this is the only explanation we get as to what the negativus legatia are. Pieces of your past that have been cast off. So the enemy of this game are pieces of your past that have been cast off. That's the extent of the explanation we've gotten. And our boss, the CEO cat lady, has one of these creatures as a pet. And it apparently grew so big that she got fat. And that's bad for us. Oh well. We now get our jacket. Our jacket works kind of like a bubble in Sonic the Hedgehog. It just tanks a hit for us. It's like having a free heart, but you can't heal it, you know? There are a few jackets strewn throughout the level. If you don't have one, you can get a new one. But not many of them. Like less than 5 in the whole game. And I don't know what the little pink blob creature is. Like, I have no idea what she's supposed to be. The game just identifies her as Office Lady. And I think that's as far into the situation as I would like to look. See, anything made of ice, and most of this level is made of ice, takes pretty good damage from the flamethrower, and we can chain damage with it pretty easily. So the flamethrower is the weapon of choice for a lot of this level, although we will be switching back to the quad in some areas. I don't think we use the bubble at all in this level. This guy here is going to hit me and take my jacket. Oh, he didn't! Beautiful! I almost always lose my jacket there. But that's how I knew to back off, son. Let him do his thing. One of the things you need to learn how to do with your jetpack is, instead of using it to gain height to reach a ledge or something, how to use it to gain hang time. Because the floaty jumps work to your advantage sometimes. If the target you want to hit is high above you, you can use the jetpack to jump up towards it, and then use the hang time you get to aim your shots at the target, and get a lot more hits than you would have otherwise if you had just done like a neutral jump from somewhere. So that's what I mean, there is a learning curve to the moveset in this game, and I mean, some players just find that kind of thing naturally rewarding. Some players, that's why they play these kind of games, is to get the moveset down. One game that I've been playing a little bit recently, I actually haven't finished it yet. Not because I haven't wanted to, just because I haven't gotten around to it yet. But a game just came out recently called Celeste, where you scale a mountain. It has a very unforgiving level design structure based around your hero's kind of very singular moveset. There's a couple of things she can do. We're going to bubble this guy because he's hiding down there in the ice. And I don't want him to shoot me. There you go. Have some bubbles, friend. But it's a very rewarding game in that once you start mastering the moveset, the things you can do are so cool looking. It's kind of like Super Meat Boy if Super Meat Boy didn't hate you. Ooh, I almost took a hit there. This screen here, walk forward quickly or that icicle right there will hit you. I've been hit by that icicle so many times. Kind of a cheap placement for that icicle. You see what I mean? Sometimes the enemies are placed just off screen to troll you hard times. So I don't know if we have like a name for these like moveset focused games or not. I'm not sure what you'd call them really, if they even actually need a name. They're not my favorite kind of platformer, but I do appreciate the skill that goes into them. And I find that in the end I tend to like watching them a lot more than playing them. For example, I have a buddy of mine who he's a world-class Meat Boy player. At one point in the long ago, he actually held the world record for, I think, any percent in Super Meat Boy. He just loves that kind of skill challenge. I played the first, I think, 4 worlds of Super Meat Boy and gave up, and I was so upset that I stopped playing it. This boss is incredibly easy if you have the quad shot, and incredibly difficult if you don't. Because with this quad shot, you can very easily just chain damage on him, and then clear the room of all his little ads very quickly. If you don't have this quad shot, you've got to aim your individual... you have to aim every individual shot so that it hits him, and it becomes much more difficult. So it's just a matter of knowing what level of which gun to have at the appropriate times, basically. I don't think we upgrade any guns here, do we? I don't think we can. No, I can't afford the ninja yet, and I don't care about any of the rest of this. Okay, can I get a heart, though? Yeah, we'll get our next heart. This might be our last heart. It's gonna depend on... Oh, yeah. If we had gotten hit and lost the jacket, it would be hanging on that coat hanger here. That's the only way to get a jacket back is to find a coat hanger.
Shoutouts to Toodles team for sponsoring this video, and to everybody who helps make my channel possible by supporting me on Patreon.